In this video, I'll share 3 things that help me break through my slide guitar plateau, and hopefully it'll help you too. I played regular standard tune guitar for years before jumping into slide guitar in open tunings, and at that point I was comfortable playing inside the pentatonic boxes in standard tuning, but not great at venturing outside of them or connecting them. And I brought that baggage over to my slide playing, which led me to stay locked into a few spots on the neck. Essentially, I was stuck in the pentatonic boxes in standard tuning and stuck in them on slide guitar. I was locked into one spot, and yes, that can sound good, great even, and there's a bunch of great riffs that you can come up with while staying anchored to certain spots. In fact, I absolutely recommend that beginners leverage what I call hot spots, but if you're looking to level up and maybe get off that plateau like I was on, then you need somewhere to go. You got to move up and down the strings horizontally, and that gives the slide a chance to do what it's best at, which is sliding up the strings. Let's see this in action. We'll take a staple blues lick, one that you've probably heard 100 times. It's in standard tuning, and notice that we can play it in one pentatonic box. Now let's rearrange this lick so that we take full advantage of the slide and climb the neck with all that sliding goodness. All right, we've got a little bit of a slide trick thrown in there, but the notes are the same. We're starting on F, moving up to G, and then A, and then D is our target tone here, where we're climbing to this whole time on the first string 12th fret. And all of that is done with the slide, right? So we're getting the essence of the slide here. And the slide trick, I'm sort of raking through as I approach the 12th string, and I'm getting the 12th fret rather, and I'm getting some other strings involved, and that makes it sound really cool. Of course, we can end a bunch of different ways by double sliding into the top 2 strings, or even just keeping it nice and simple. We've got a lot of options there, and we're leveraging what the slide does best. Now, in that quick comparison, hopefully it helps you see how we can rearrange things that we're already familiar with, especially if you're coming from a standard tune guitar world, and plot it out along the strings in a way that leverages the unique slide sound, that really cool up and down sound. Now, to practice doing this, get really familiar with the pentatonic scale up and down a single string. Start with the first string and then move on to the second string. Notice that I did drop down an octave to play the C note and then the D versus going up because I ran out of room. If you've got a cutaway, keep going. You'll need to map the scale along each string to get the full effect of this, but start with the top 2 strings because you can do a lot with just those. I really love that buzzy, wild sound you can get from a slide. You hear the strings rattling a little bit. It's messy, it's uncontrolled, but it's definitely a lot of fun, and it can make for a big impact in a tune. But sometimes to really stand out, we need to balance that untamed sound with a bit of control. Enter the unsung hero of slide guitar, muting. Good muting involves both hands, so let's take a look at each one. We'll start with the fret hand, or I guess we should call it the slide hand in this lesson. If you don't wear your slide on your index finger, which most of us don't, that would be here, you really will have some fingers behind the slide that you can use for muting. To dial in this muting, we're going to place our fingers that are behind the slide gently on the strings, right? You can play with them up like this when you want those bigger, wild moments, but to tame things a bit and cut down on the string noise that's generated behind the slide, you just gently lay your free fingers on the strings. I'm not fretting. There's no note being produced here. I'm just making sure that I dampen to clean up the string noise that's occurring behind the slide without. The key is to make sure that the fingers behind the slide travel with the slide to keep that dampening effect going as you move up and down the neck. And this works whether or not you play it like this where you have your fingers spaced this way on the neck, or if you bunch them up. Players do it either way. What really matters is that you can have that dampening sound traveling with the slide as you play. And don't forget, for those big wild moments, we need those. We love those. All you have to do is just pick up the fingers from behind the slide and apply a ton of vibe. Now on to the picking hand, and this was huge for me. Getting my picking hand to mute the strings helped me clean up my overall sound really like nothing else. When I'm not playing, my fingers are on the strings, keeping the strings silent. My thumb rests across strings 6, 5, and 4, index is on the 3rd, middle on the 2nd, and the ring on the 1st. This is the default setting. Each switch is off, and the guitar is dead silent. To play a note, I pluck the string to turn on that switch, like this. But here's the key to this. Whenever I want that string to stop ringing and maybe switch to another one, I have to turn off that switch first by returning to the string before switching on another string. You can see this in action in this lick, and it would be a great one for you to practice this technique. Notice how whenever each string is supposed to ring, that's when I lift my finger. That's when I'm doing the plucking. But whenever it's done and it's time to play the next note, that finger returns to its respective string, and then I pluck or turn the light switch on for the next note. Spend a few minutes just doing that. Pick 2 notes, 2 strings really to target, and go back and forth between, in this case, I'm using my index finger and my middle on strings 3 and 2. And then, of course, get the thumb involved there, but notice where these 2 fingers are. When I plucked that final note, they muted out the strings. Now, there's nothing wrong with having those strings ring. That sounds really good to do as well, but practice being able to mute it, then you'll have that ability when you need it. Try this light switch idea to help you level up your picking hand muting. Combine both hands for a really clear sound, and don't forget to work in those big moments with 0 muting and just let loose. Early on, I used the slide for every note. It's kind of natural when you first get this thing on your finger to just play every note with a slide. But after seeing players like Joey Landreth and Ariel Posen playing fretted and slide notes, I realized there's so much more that we can do. Spending some time on this technique really helped me get off of a plateau. Here's a lick that uses exclusively the slide, and then we'll take this and work in some fretted notes so you can see the contrast. All right, and here's generally the same idea, but incorporating some fretted notes. I'm keeping my slide at various points, and then I'm picking it up slightly to expose a string, and that's the string that I'm fretting. In this case, I've fretted all the notes with my index finger. And then, of course, I moved positions and did the same thing on a different set of strings. Right? That's the idea. Now, you don't have to lift. You could also learn how to play chords while holding the slide. It's a beautiful sound and definitely more advanced. But what I wanted you to see is just this general idea of fretting behind the slide. And one thing that really makes it possible, at least the way I'm doing it, where I'm picking the slide slightly off of the strings and it looks like this kind of rocking motion, is that light switch picking. Right? Without it, you're going to get more noise from moving on and off with the slide. Mixing in fretted notes with the slide can really elevate your slide playing. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And you can learn more about this technique with Tuesday Blues number 390. If you're feeling stuck with slide guitar, remember these things that helped me. First of all, think horizontally. Play up and down from nut to bridge. And then make sure your muting is really dialed in. Mute with both hands to control the sound and mix in fretted notes. These concepts really help me break through a plateau, and I think they can help you too. Remember to sign up for the Tuesday Blues newsletter to get helpful resources with each video. You can do that right over here and at the link in the description. It's free and it's part of my mission to help blues guitarists play the music they love. So sign up. I'll see you in the next listen. Until then, practice smart and play on.